I do have an accent, thank you, Chip. I'm from Wales, South Wales, which is in the UK, so I can do Noswaith da, diolch yn fawr, mae'n ffrind, which is thank you very much, good evening, and I'm honoured to be here. I now live in Wellington, New Zealand, so I suppose I should do Kia ora, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, which is Māori for welcome and all that other business. But I'm going to speak in English, it's all right. My English, so forgive me if I do get excited. I do get excited, my accent really kicks in and I sound really funny and I roll my R's, so stick your hand up and say, tone it down, fella. But I'm not going to speak about social media, which is what I've been doing and making money off for the last 10 years, because I've got a problem, which I hope you can help with, or a question really that I'm trying to figure out, even if it's the right question. And it's all to do with wisdom. And I came across this a couple of years ago, but I'll give you the backstory in a minute. But I'm literally hoping you guys will help me frame this better to go forward, okay? I first started wondering about this, a few years ago when we kind of look around the world and we start to see, there are gurus, there's teaching, there's spirituality, there's mindfulness and all that other thing, which is awesome. There's also the kind of what I call hallmark wisdom, when you open up a card and there's something said there and you go, ooh, that's cool. And then you put it back and get on with your life, it never really affects you deeply. So wisdom is everywhere, but the stuff that I want to talk about is actually designing wisdom. That's my question, really, is can wisdom be designed? I spent a year in Wellington as a business designer in a design thinking organization, and they design a lot of things you didn't think could be designed. And also, we're in Zappos, so they kind of design happiness to a certain degree. So I don't think it's a scary question. I just think it might not even be the right one. I don't know. That's why I'm here, to hopefully leverage the awesomeness of your brain. But really where it cemented was 2.5 years ago when I came across this book by Andrew Zuckerman. Anybody read Wisdom or seen this book? Please get it out in the library. It's one of those big coffee shop books, so you can really hinder someone with them, so be careful. And I came across this and it made me really stop. And basically what he's done, he's gone around and asked really awesome people, what is wisdom? But he's asked people like Clint Eastwood, Desmond Tutu, Mary Albright, etc., so on and so forth, really established people in whether their industry or their sector. And it's amazing the type of stuff these people come out with. And that's where it started for me. And I want to share with you a really, really brief clip from this magnificent Celtic brother, Scottish, Welsh, we're all Celts. And you probably know Billy Connolly. Got to make sure there's some sound on this, please, guys, just to make sure that it's got some sound. Thank you very much. He's not swearing in this, which is quite odd for Billy if you ever know his stuff. But check this out, first of all, and I'll come back in.
Wisdom isn't an old guy on the top of a mountain with a loincloth and waist-length hair. Wisdom, to me, isn't an answer anyway. Wisdom is a question. It's like your mother saying, where have you been to this time of night? The question was the answer. She didn't want you to tell her. And I think that's where wisdom is. It's in the constant questioning of where you are. And when you stop wanting to know, you're dead. You're walking, but you're dead.
That was nice. That was a collective pause. Do you want to take a minute? It's good, right? It's good. A constant questioning of where we are and what we're doing. And wisdom is that question. And I'll come back to it, but it's something called an interrobang, which I love, but I'll come back to that. That's one of my slides. So after watching that and getting really excited about wisdom and the concept of, I started to look around, and I've got a cross-sector experience. So I have worked with the Cokes and Pepsis right through to the Gates Foundation, UNICEF, really two opposite polar ends of industries and sectors. And I started to think that maybe we could just humanize wisdom back into the systems that are out there, the schools or the non-profits or the businesses. And I came up with this concept of humanizing wisdom. And I think I got that wrong. That was my first iteration of this question. This was my brainstorm of humanizing wisdom. Come up and ask me what all those different lines are for, because that's an extended brainstorm technique which I can share with you. It's really awesome. But it's something that I kind of just started to explore much deeper. This was two years ago now, and I did a talk at the International Conference on Thinking in Wellington about it, and it's really been bubbling ever since. And then I came back to kind of what I was doing, which was business modeling and business design and stuff like that. And there's a hell of a lot of models out there. And I thought, well, maybe there's a model for wisdom. And I looked, couldn't find one. Until this glorious chap came across my midst. And I came across him in an interview. He's a guy called Russell Ackoff. He's a systems thinker Okay, he does systems theory and design. And basically it was a YouTube video, an interview with him for 9 minutes. I only got 3 minutes in. And I got 3 minutes in because he shared this model of wisdom. And obviously I had to go outside and take a breath. And I want to share it with you, and hopefully it might stick, it might not, it might be right, it might be wrong. That's why I'm here for you to help me a little bit. So it's a pyramid approach, okay? The first layer is data. Okay, right at the bottom, that's the metrics. That's the ones and zeros of whatever is out there. Remember, we're systems thinking here. We're designing things based on information, knowledge, blah, blah, blah. And that's when we move up. The next level is information. So now you have the metrics and the information. What do you observe from that? In other words, why is it important? Or is it? Or do we need more of? Okay? And the next level is knowledge. That's the bigger context. And that's when you start to see patterns starting to form. And in business circles, that's when you start to see opportunity start to come out, because you know that someone would buy what you've got a lot of, for example. The fourth layer and fifth, you kind of jumped on. The fourth layer is understanding. So this is how to put in action what you already know. Okay, so it's building it out into action. And the fifth is wisdom. What is driving you to do that? What's fascinating is the first four are all about efficiencies. How efficient can a system become or design? And the top one is about effectiveness. So ask a different question. So you can apply this to for something like the oil industry. The oil industry is based on a very efficient business model. And I'll explain it to you. The oil industry is data and metrics, is like how much oil is down there, where is it? Okay? The information, how do we observe? Is it too deep that we can't get to it, etc., so on and so forth? Where are our capabilities, etc.? The knowledge is like knowing, well, is there still a need for this stuff? We know how to get to it, we know where it is, we know how much it is there, we know there's a contextualizing industry that could serve us. Really though, can we do it? Okay? And then the fourth one, the understanding is actually knowing how to mine it and distribute it. And bang, you're in the oil industry. And you're a highly efficient model as well, which is based on that. But if you put the wisdom level in there, in other words, a new lens to it, wisdom asks, your system you just created, how does it impact and interact with other systems in the world? In other words, no system is ever created in a silo. So if you're in the oil industry, you kind of ask the question, well, I know how to do all this, but is it wise to do it? And then ask a whole set of questions. Well, actually, it's not, because it hurts the earth. We're in an industry that's going to die. We're actually create geo and political and social economic kind of strife across the world, blah, blah, blah. But you can reverse it. You can actually use wisdom to design things if you start there. So if you design an oil industry from a principle of effectiveness, you wouldn't just stop it. You would redesign how you actually do it. And this can be applied across all sectors, and that's my kind of point here, is I've got something that potentially could scale here, or not. Maybe it's not the right model. Like I say, I've just got a question that's teasing and niggling at me. But I've literally sat with people who design city infrastructure, transport systems, and we've gone through those. What's metrics for you? What's data, for you? And what's wisdom for you? And it can work. And I've done it at an individual level as well. And I've also done it in institutional levels. And I'm just in conversation mode at the moment. I'm not doing anything because I really want to try and get validation for this idea, using my design thinking hat. Because you have to apply this stuff before you get out and build these systems. A lot of businesses create systems for whatever it is when they sell before they even validate it with the audience or the potential market. So I really am looking to apply. And one thing that's in my head at the moment is how do you create, and this speaks to what I used to do, which is social media. I still do it. I'm a big fan of creating cultures rather than strategies, okay? So in other words, forming a habitat where the habit can continue. And that's what I'm really intrigued by. Can wisdom be used to create a habitat, or be used to design a space where a habit can form, whether it be societal, whether it be in a school, pedagogical, whether it be individually, as a community? I don't know, but it's a fun question. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, check out this guy, Barry Schwartz. He did a really cool TED talk on this about practical wisdom, which is the old Aristotle idea of the master virtue. In other words, what Aristotle describes this as when there's something that is set in stone, in a sense, we all know it to be true. The master virtue people out there actually find a way to bend the rules, okay? which is real fun to think about when you think about schools or even, you know, online and everything else. You look around and there's a lot of people kind of bending the rule, but I don't think they have the virtue at heart, the principles, the guiding principles. Remember the top thing, guiding them too much? If you remember, that was the top thing. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if this is a model. It's really exciting me, and I'm really trying to put it into action. I'm speaking to as many people as possible because they give me new ideas and fresh insights. And I love you to come up and chat to me and say, nah, you're wrong. Or yeah, you're right. Or have you thought about X? Because literally I need your help on this, being quite vulnerable. One thing I did find when I was talking to someone about this, I won't give who he was, but basically he's quite senior in New Zealand government. And I was chatting away and I drew this, love to draw stuff. And he was like, that's really cool. And he used the language which really stuck with me. The language is infusion and diffusion. How something like this could be infused into a culture, into an organization, so it breathes it, so in other words, that cultural change. And it could diffuse out of the culture as well, in terms of where it touches and where it interacts with. Remember, no system is ever created in a silo. Everything you interact with, from the city level, right through to the global economic stuff, right through to the fact you bought a Coke on the way here, there's a system in operation there. All I'm trying to do is ask the question, can virtue be put at the top there? Can wisdom be designed back into the system to make it much more wholesome for all of us? Whether you're thinking green or whether you're just thinking about compassion and empathy there. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in your mind or in your head. So I want to end the last couple of slides. This is one of my favorite films on the planet, and it's a great book, Peaceful Warrior. Anybody seen The Peaceful Warrior, Way of the Peaceful Warrior? Cool, a couple of there. It's a great book. The book serves it better than the film, but the film is cool just because it's got Nick Nolte playing a very different Nick Nolte. Usually he's the guy shouting and looking menacing. In this, he's playing a sage, a guy who has wisdom. And he's teaching his young kind of recruit something about wisdom. And I want to play this.
How we doing tonight?
Look, that roof's got to be at least 10, maybe 12 feet high. No human can make a vertical leap over 4 or 5 feet tops. I know, I'm a gymnast. Toughest men's sport in the world. Most people don't know that.
The Spartans of ancient Greece were gymnasts too. They vaulted over bulls, trained their elite warriors that way. Did you know that?
I know more than you think.
And you think more than you know. The knowledge is not the same as wisdom.
Yeah? What's the difference?
You know how to clean a windshield, right?
Yeah.
Wisdom is doing it.
You should watch that film. There's a lot of that in there. You got to pause it at times and go, cool. I mentioned at the beginning, this comes right back around to what Billy Connolly was speaking about. I love interrobangs. This is an interrobang. Don't know if you've ever come across it. It's the best punctuation mark on the planet. It actually is a punctuation mark. It's obviously a question mark with an exclamation mark. You can actually get it on the special characters on your computer. It's fallen out of favor now, but basically it's what Billy Connolly was saying, you know? Where have you been till this time of night? It's a question. No, it's a statement. The answer is the question is the answer, you know? And to me, wisdom is that at the moment. I haven't got my head around it. But it's certainly a good question, and it's also a statement to the society that I see around us where it's kind of not working. It's working for a lot of people, but the majority of people it's kind of not working for. And I kind of just want to ask that interrobang question is, can we design wisdom back into the systems that we currently co-create and interact with together? So I'm going to leave you with that quote, one of my favorites, when I go out on a limb. It's with the fruit are. I feel like I'm doing that and being quite vulnerable. Usually I speak from a position of, I know this shit. You know? Social media, I'm all over it, man. But this, man, I don't. I'm just kind of speaking to you as me. Thank you very much. Thank you.